Hey everybody, and welcome to Green Tips Garden. If this is the first time you've joined my channel, consider hitting the subscribe button and the bell notification, and that way you'll receive notifications each time I post a video. We're now looking at lasagna bulb planting. You may have heard of this term before. It's where you plant a layer of variety of bulbs in a container. That way you get a real long season of interest come spring. And autumn's the time to think about doing this, because rather than closing down the garden for winter, it's great to spend some time flicking through those garden catalogues, giving some thought to that hit of or impact of spring colour. Many of the bulbs that you would plant for spring flowers need cold stratification, which means that they need to come through a winter to stimulate them to produce flowers in the spring. So we have all of our kit here. We have our bowl, we have our peat-free compost, we have our bulbs and plants, and I'll put links to the affiliate suppliers in the description below, some of the companies that I use and that I find really provide great quality bulbs. What's really important, particularly for the tulips, is to give depth. They prefer deep planting depth. Usually we plant bulbs at about 3 times their bulb size. This container size is 40 centimeters, which is 15 inches, and it is 33 centimeters deep or 13 inches. Now you can do one of these planters in a variety of different pot sizes. What's really key, particularly with the tulips and the daffodils, is to distance them so that they don't touch. But also, if you've used a reputable supplier, the bulbs should already be top quality. You don't want to plant any that are mouldy or soft to the touch. You really want to make sure that they're the best quality bulbs that you can get, which is why now is a great time to do that shopping. So you're not buying bulbs that have been hanging around in a warehouse or in a shop for months on end, maybe have dried out and have lost their vigour. Also, some thoughts about the pot. If you want to take it up a notch, take it up a level, you could give some thought not only to the bulbs and the plants that you're putting in it, but also, do you want to maybe give some thought to a complementary colour to the bulbs or a contrasting colour between the pot and the bulbs? I've just got a neutral bog standard black pot. You may also have terracotta pots, again neutral, but there are some really excellent pots out there for a bulb planter. That's another way that you can up your game by deciding, do you want to stagger the flowering times, or do you want them all in one big hit, one big punch? And that's with regards to the tulips, but in fact this bulb lasagna allows us to have a long period of interest right from February with the crocuses, April with the narcissus or daffodils, and then April, May with the tulips. And then if you add in these dianthus or other plants, you're really going to get a real long season of interest for that planter. So a lot of bang for your buck, as they say. Give some thought to the flowering types. So with daffodils you have single-headed, you have trumpet, you have multi-headed. With the tulips you have singles, doubles, lilies, parrots, and the list goes on. So obviously if you just see something you like, by all means just plant them, but it just gives you an extra level to give some thought to if you want to add some extra interest. So let's crack on. We've got our pot. We want to first of all drill some holes in to allow for drainage, and this is, as I mentioned, peat-free compost. So we want to just give a base layer, and if there's any lumps you just want to break those up. So remember what we said, that the tulips like to be about 8 inches deep. Now a lot of people, you don't need to measure this, I'm just doing this for dramatic effect. So about 8 inches, so yeah, we've got plenty. With the soil in the base there, I've still got 12 inches to the very rim. But a lot of people, if they were just planting tulips, would maybe wait until November, because there's a fungal disease called tulip fire, and this can wipe out your tulips, and obviously you've wasted them. And if you plant November onwards, then you've avoided that period of danger or risk. But because this is a mixed bulb, and I've got reputable suppliers, and the bulbs are all healthy, and we're not going to allow the bulbs to touch, and plus as well, we want to allow as much growing time as possible for all of the bulbs, I'm going to plant them now. But if you were just doing a singular planter for the tulips, you might wait till November. And I'm also going to put a link to one of my other videos, which was a crocus planter, which are really gorgeous for leaving on tabletops, because they're a small planter, a small bulb, and you really get to see at eye level the delicate beauty of the crocus. So I'll put that up in my link. So let's do our bulb lasagna. First layer of tulips. So just bear in mind equal distance apart and not touching. And as we said, the tulips really like the depth of soil that they're going to get here. You'll find that despite probably your best efforts, these will not flower again. Lots of people treat tulips as annuals, which is a shame, and I actually tried to fish out the bulbs after the season to see if there are any that are still flowering size. And if there are, I do replant them in the border. But it's just very hard to mimic the conditions that the growers have created to bring these bulbs to flowering size. Not impossible, especially if you have species bulbs, you'll find that they'll reflower, but lots of the ones that are for garden use really won't be able to flower next year. They won't have enough oomph. The bulb you'll see will be a lot smaller. But nevertheless, once this planter has finished, you may want to put it in a sunny location, continue feeding it, just to give even the other bulbs that are in there with the tulips an opportunity to build up their reserves, and to give them an opportunity. They might just flower next year. It might prove me wrong. Let me know if you have any top tips to getting your tulips to reflower. So we've now planted or just buried our first layer of tulip bulbs, and now we're going to our Avignon. And apart from making sure they're not touching, also just a word about which way to plant them. Plant them pointy end up, so you have the flat bottom here where the root comes out, and pointy end up. So we've only got 8 of these. Evenly space these, and don't worry about the shoots. The shoots from the lower levels will find their way through anything that's planted above them. If you're also interested, I've done a video about a winter basket, so again I'll put that link up on the screen now. So again, we're now just covering the next level to give them a bit of space, and spacing them out also make sure that if any should rot off, that it doesn't spread to the other bulbs. So we're just covering up to the tips. And now we're going to go for our daffodils, cheerfulness. These are really lovely, and in fact they're widely available. I've seen lots of suppliers do yellow cheerfulness. I've also got on my Instagram profile lots of examples of complementary colours, contrasting colours, so you might find that of interest. That's at Green Tips Gardening. That's always my profile, whether it's on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. But Instagram's the one that I'm mainly like. Apart from gardening, I also like taking photos. So again, we're now going to cover these. And to be honest, the crocuses, if you notice, these will flower in February and March, and if you notice, these are actually very small bulbs. So we said about 3 times their depth. So even though I've now covered the daffodils, there's still quite a lot of depth, so I'll probably add quite a lot of compost just to get that up to an appropriate depth, otherwise they'll wear themselves out before they get to the surface. But also remember, we're also not looking to plant right to the rim, because when that comes to watering, all the water will just flow straight off. We want to leave a lip, an inch or so. So we're now about this depth, and you can just really see how simple this is. You'll have oodles of colour. Again, making sure you plant the pointed end upwards. You can see a planter of this size takes quite an amount of soil. Okay, and then what some people do is they gravel this and then just leave it to one side, so some pea shingle. But really what we want to do is to have as long a length of interest as possible. So we have here our dianthus, and I think maybe 3 of these in this pot. And other people also put polyanthus or pansies, violas. They all look really nice in a planter like this, so we give them again a bit of room to spread out, and all that's left for me to do is to top this off. So there we have it, our spring lasagna planter. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please click subscribe, and don't forget to hit the like button and the bell notifications to receive notifications of our next video. Thanks for listening to Green Tips Garden.